This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 27 of Horse Tip Daily, a different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you one day at a time. Today's topic is sponsored by the Horse Radio Network, the leader in online radio for the horse lover. Enjoy today's tip. Hey everybody, Glenn the Geek here from Lexington, Kentucky, and welcome back to Horse Tip Daily. Today we have back with us a good friend of the Horse Radio Network and somebody that I always enjoy speaking to. Craig Thompson's an international eventer and clinician. He is well known for his teaching abilities and has a loyal following of students. He runs the popular Aiken Eventing Camp and the Aiken Event Horse Sale. In addition, he was one of the founding members of the Professional Riders Organization for Eventers. And we'll get to Craig in a few seconds right after I say a few words about the Horse Radio Network. As most of you know, I am the founder of the Horse Radio Network and absolutely love my job. We have some great sponsors that have seen some great results being part of the Horse Radio Network. If you run any type of business in the horse world, from the smallest to the largest operation, then we have an opportunity for you. As we all know, the magazines and traditional print media are having difficulties and people are not reading them like they used to. They're getting their horse news and equine entertainment in different ways now. That also means that your expensive print ads are not doing as well as they have in the past, and you're looking for alternatives. We have one of those alternatives here at the Horse Radio Network. We have ad spots available on many of the shows, and they are effective and affordable. Our listeners are the most tuned in the horse world. They are the target demographic you are trying to reach. For a fraction of the price you are paying for that magazine ad, you could be joining the stable of happy advertisers here at the Horse Radio Network. Drop me an email at glenn@horseradionetwork.com for more information and rates. Now let's get to Craig Thompson. Well, hi, Craig. Welcome back to Horse Tip Daily. We appreciate you being here.
Good to be here, Glenn.
It was fun. We had you on the last time, and, I do look forward. Obviously, I do the eventing radio show, so I'm an event fan at heart, and my wife was an eventer for a long time, so I'm partial to eventers, and so I do look forward to the tips that come from you. What are we doing today?
Well, I just wanted to talk about a couple of my favorite books about eventing.
Oh, great, yeah.
And in typical fashion, neither of these books have anything to do with eventing in their titles or even really in the content of the books.
Oh, really?
But I get asked a lot, especially in clinics and teaching situations, about what can I read to help me with my riding. And with all due respect to everybody who's written great horse books, I don't think there's a lot of great horse books out there. And it's really hard to teach feel. It's really hard to teach skill from a book. But there are some books that deal with different topics, but to me sort of are easy to bring back around to eventing. And the first is a book called Complications, A Surgeon's Notes on an Imperfect Science by a surgeon named Atul Gawande.
All right, well, I wouldn't have guessed that one. That's not one.
Well, it was recommended to me last winter by a student who herself is a veterinary surgeon. And she said, Craig, I want you to read this book because it really reminded her of how I teach. And I read it and I couldn't put it down, quite honestly. And it's a fascinating book because it looks at how surgeons learn to become surgeons and how healthcare works. But I guess what really stands out for me in the book is that he talks about surgeons learning new skills and new ways of doing techniques. And when a surgeon is sort of segueing from the way they've always done one procedure and developing and learning a new one is when the most accidents, the most mistakes happen in that type of surgery. And that, to me, is just such a huge thing for us to think about because every one of us has to keep figuring out how to become a better rider. And that means changing how we do things. And that means making mistakes. And becoming a better rider, learning to ride to the jumps without pulling on the reins or learning to ride to the jumps with our eye up is essential. But in the process of making that natural, making that subconscious, we're going to mess it up. We're going to screw up. Fortunately, we're not operating on another person. But this book just does such a great job of talking about how that is a natural part of the learning process. And I really just, I watch students struggle, and I certainly myself struggle when I try to change my riding. And it's when most people get frustrated and give up is when they start trying to change things. And I just think it's so important for us to remember that change is necessary, but it also isn't easy, and mistakes happen when we're making those changes. And as a teacher, you try to get somebody to keep their eye up and put their hand down, and then the horse stops at the jump, and then the person thinks, well, shoot, I shouldn't have done that. Thompson's stupid.
Right.
But the reality is that's exactly what they need to do. They need to ride to the jumps with a low hand and keep their eye up. And over 10,000 repetitions, that becomes subconscious and easy and natural. So I would recommend the book to anybody who thinks about learning to ride and is in the process of learning to ride. And
what's the well? You're going to have to give us the name of that book again.
Sure. That it is Complications: A Surgeon's Notes on an Imperfect Science.
And I wonder is that one available on Amazon? Do you think?
It is on Amazon. It came out in 2003, and the author's last name is spelled Gawande.
And we'll put a link in the show notes to that as well. You know what that makes me want to do is ask my surgeon where they are in the process before I get my operation.
The book will make you question whether you really want to go to the hospital.
That's the first thing I thought. I was like, okay, are you in the learning curve, or are we there?
Well, it's a good book. The other book I just wanted to touch on briefly as well is a classic. It's George Morris's Hunter Seat Equitation. And obviously the name Hunter Seat Equitation doesn't have the word eventing in it. But I always go back to George's book because in addition, of course he does talk about riding horses, obviously, but the very first page of the first chapter, George discusses how to get on your horse, how to put your foot in the iron and climb on your horse. And just last week I had a girl come for the first lesson, and just sort of out of the corner of my eye I was watching her get on, and she climbed up there and the horse bolted and ran away. And right there you've got a horse with a high head, a low back, an increased heart rate, and the total opposite of relaxation. If our goal in training and competing and riding is to create a relaxed horse, starting with a nervous, tense, hollow one isn't a great place.
Right.
So I think George's point is just so, the first time I read it, it really floored me. I was like, well, that is where it starts, isn't it? It's not about riding horses. It starts with what are you doing on the ground? How are you putting your foot in the iron? The rest of the book is quite good, too.
Right.
But, when we think about going back to the beginning, that's about as much of the beginning as you could get to.
Well, and I think you'll agree with this, too. I interviewed gold medalist Lauren Barwick, who's a Canadian para-dressage rider, and she won a gold medal in the last Olympics. And she's a very nice person, and she is Pat Pirelli's executive assistant.
Huh.
And her horse that she used to win that gold medal was started by Pat on cows.
Yeah, there you go.
And I think that what I'm trying to say there is it gets back. Some of this stuff is timeless. You're talking about a book that I think was put out. When was that book put out?
I don't say the 70s.
But it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And, the Hunter Seat Equitation one by George Morris, but that stuff is timeless. It goes back, and, Pirelli starting a gold medal dressage horse,
Cool.
Doing cows, just goes to show you they don't, it's the fundamentals that count.
Well, and speaking of cows, the other book that I always direct people to is a collection of essays called Some Horses, which is by a great fiction writer named Tom McWayne, but he also does cutting horses, and his essays are mostly about his life with horses and working cattle and being on a ranch, but it is, to me, Some Horses is the best book I've read that really captures what it is that makes horse and man want to work together. It has nothing to do with eventing, but, it's just what you said. There's so many universal truths from one discipline to another.
Well, that's great. Now you did 3 recommendations.
I did, didn't I?
So we'll put all 3. The problem with you and I is every time we talk, we can't stop talking. So it's always been a problem with us. Well, tell our listeners where they can learn more about you and the Professional Riders Organization, which you're involved with.
Well, my website is CraigThompsonEventing.com, and I don't have a list of recommended reading on there, but maybe I'll start one.
Well, there you go. That'd be a good idea.
And then the Professional Riders Organization can be found online at professionalriders.org. and the background on pro is there, and an opportunity to join pro is there, and a lot of really interesting interviews with our members that can be found there as well. So I hope everybody will take a look when they're sitting down at the internet.
And I think we're going to be getting more of the pro riders involved, doing some tips on training and things like that as well. So that'll be a lot of fun too. All right, Craig, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks, Glenn.
Well, we thank Craig for stopping by again. We just have a lot of fun chatting. You can stop by our website and look under the Expert tab. You will find Craig Thompson, and on his bio page, you will find the links to all the sites he mentioned. Also, on the show notes for this episode, number 27, I put links to all the books that he mentioned. You can buy them all at Amazon. So that's the easiest way to find a link and to hear the show is just go to horsetipdaily.com. Well, we'll have Craig back again soon. I have no email for you today. If you wish to send an email that we could read on the air here, you can send it to Glenn with 2 N's at horseradionetwork.com. And don't forget to sign up in the August Horse Radio Network giveaway. Just go to horsetipdaily.com, and you'll find on the right-hand side of the page, you'll find the link there. There's a banner ad for our giveaway this month. We have a bunch of great stuff, which I mentioned in yesterday's show, and we'll review again tomorrow. Well, please subscribe to the show through iTunes or Zune and get the daily tips automatically downloaded to your iPod, Zune, or MP3 player. Also, you can follow us on Facebook. Just search for Horse Tip Daily, or follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. And don't forget to check out all the great shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com. Well, I'll be back again tomorrow with another new expert and a different horse tip. Until then, stay safe, everyone.